So here's Harriet. Harriet is in her 40s. So she's about twice the age of Ruby. But again,
still pretty young based on what you were just saying.
Still really just honestly middle-aged, you know. She's kind of like at the 50% stage, and she's a lot more chill. And also being a blue and gold, she, as a species, they're a little bit more chill anyway. So we tend to find the green wings are a bit louder, do all the dance moves, and are much higher energy. But blue and golds tend to just hang out a lot more. They will dance for sure. They can pick up some dance moves and they can get hyped up, but usually it's not as much of a strong streak in them. You have to kind of party with them a bit more to get them going. Harriet does this little side wobble. You can see she's kind of rocking. That's that's her dance move.
It's pretty sedate compared to Ruby.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely moves more slowly. You can see in her cage set up here, she's got twisted sisal rope as her main perch, and she has a cross. You can see when she moved there, she used her beak to hang on to the cross rope as she stepped over to go and get some more food. And that's not just for comfort. She's doing that for balance, because she moves more slowly. She doesn't have any chronic health issues. She did have a respiratory infection when she came into us. We rescued her from a shelter where they had 9 parrots that had come in after the owner had passed away. And unfortunately, there had been no provision made by the owner for what should happen to the birds in the event of her death. And so the shelter was working. They did a great job, and they did work with us, and we had information about all of the birds, and they began working on finding homes for them. The ones that were younger and in full health were, I think, all but 2 were adopted out by the shelter with our support. We took in 2, and Harriet is one of those that we're talking about today. So she had a respiratory infection that she'd been living with, and after that got treated. Now she's fine. She's just kind of a chill, slower mover who just is looking for someone to hang out with her in a fairly kind of peaceful home. She's used to having other birds around, but I don't think she minds too much as long as she's got attention from somebody.
Okay. Quick reminder for our audience that you can type any questions you may have about Harriet into the Q&A on Zoom or into the live stream on Facebook. And that does go for Ruby as well. Alice said her name. Is Harriet tame?
She does know how to step up, but she's pretty wary of new people. I have spent some time with her and just talking to her and feeding her treats. In fact, I think later on in this video, there's a little moment where you might see I have her cage door open, and I walk up to her and give her a little treat, and she'll happily take treats from your hands. I think she would step up for somebody once she had the opportunity to settle in with you. She was interested in getting, you can see her legs reaching through the bars here.
Oh yeah. She's
kind of like, she's trying to figure out how she could hang out with me through the bars. And it's a little hard to see in the video, but she keeps putting a leg through the bars there. She's
there it is.
She's reaching out. So she's interested in stepping up and having contact, and she let me scratch her head a little too. But she was also very cautious because this was our first visit spending time together. So I was a complete stranger, just kind of wheeling her into a room and talking to her in literally like the first 30 minutes that we'd met. So she was naturally a little bit wary of that. And you can see her picking her foot up, like she's like, do I want to step over for you? Maybe. I just, like a lot of birds, they are very individual, and they want to have a flock and they want to be social, but they're prey in the wild. They're naturally cautious, and they need to get to know you until they decide that you're not a predator.
Yeah.
And we kind of look like scary predators to them. So we have to kind of work on it a little bit.
We do have an audience question here. Does Harriet talk?
She doesn't talk a whole lot. She's got little vocalizations that she makes.
Mhm.
But she's pretty quiet for the most part. Um, it's very possible that over time in your household, you might see her start to share a little bit more of her past and her vocabulary with you. We've found
Mhm.
that in a lot of older birds, is that, obviously, unfortunately, even though we do our best for them and we give them, a great diet,
Mhm.
and good medical care, we are still unfortunately moving them around.
Yeah.
And so they don't always settle as quickly as they would in an adopted home.
Mhm.
And so we don't hear their full personality or their full vocabulary as quickly. We've had a lot of people telling us once the bird's adopted, 6 months, 12 months down the line, they start coming out with all kinds of things that we haven't heard. And some of that might even be things you say to them. I've had fostered several macaws where they've picked up some of the hums and ha's and little phrases that I say to them a lot. So even though she's older, that doesn't mean that she can't learn more new phrases too. We see a lot of Amazons and macaws that learn the names of your family members or the names of your pet dog or anything that you tend to say a lot around them.
Uh-huh.
And all the usual
Yeah.
hello and bye-bye. So she hasn't revealed an extensive repertoire at the moment, but that's not the optimal conditions for her to do so either. So there might be a
Right.
keeping up of her proverbial sleeve.
Got it. We've seen her eating a bit here and there in the video, and I see now she's over by her food dishes again. What kind of a diet does Harriet have?
Harriet's on a really good diet of Harrison's pellets, with some nuts and fruit and vegetables and a few treats. She's a really good eater. You could see earlier she was going over and picking up her Harrison's pellets. She's on the large coarse pellets. I think this is where I offer her a little piece of walnut.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's just a little, it's not a big piece, but that's all it takes. You just offer them a
Yeah.
little, and she's hanging on. You can see her kind of hanging onto the cage a little just to steady herself. And then she reaches over and takes it. So she's very gentle. And she's really good about eating her pellets. She'll hold them in her foot and munch through one coarse big pellet at a time. And then she eats her veggies as well. So she's pretty good with carrot and pepper, and a lot of the usual popular veggies that we get our birds to try.
I saw her sort of poof up her head feathers there as she was considering whether to take that nut from you too.
Yeah, and they have a lot of control over feather posture. It's one of the really useful things that they're quite expressive. They maybe don't have the same facial expressions you might be used to in people or dogs or other mammals, but you can tell a lot from their body movement and their feather posture. And that's often a big clue as to how relaxed they are, how excited they are. So you can see she's doing a lot of, she gets really agitated there because I was approaching her with a perch to see if she would want to step up. And she was like, no, I don't want that. So I took it away again. And then
now she looks pretty calm again. I mean, there, she's excited.
Yeah. I mean, there's a difference.
What is that out there?
Yeah. She's like, I don't know what to do with you. What are you trying to do? I mean, unfortunately, being at the vet, they take her out regularly for weighing her, and she was on medication for a while. And so they were having to put her in a towel. And when you approach her in that building, she assumes you're going to try and towel her for medication. So we're just having to work with that right now. But she's ready to move to a home. She doesn't need to be at the vet anymore. She's just there because she's got the company of other macaws, and we're working on getting more foster homes available.
Yeah. So yes, I should have mentioned earlier, the process to foster and adopt is pretty much the same. It's just at the end, whether you're making a permanent commitment to the birds or a commitment to help the birds move to their permanent homes. We do have another audience question. Does she have any medical issues?
Nothing serious, just aging, really. She's just
I'm feeling that one myself.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that a little bit at some point.
Yeah.
That's her taking a little bit of apple. She doesn't need, she's not on any medication. She doesn't need anything other than a setup where maybe she's got more of those rope perches rather than wood ones, so that it's more comfortable for her. and a setup where there's a lot of them at good angles, so she can climb around comfortably without having to do any big stretches. And if you were to take her out, to make sure that you gave her a really comfortable, stable play stand or platform, or if you're holding her, move really slowly. I don't think you could dance around with her on your shoulder like a younger bird, because she would feel unstable and she would be worried about falling. So yeah, you just have to give her a lot of stability and comfort and space, but no chronic issues with heart conditions or anything of that kind.
Great. So in just a minute, we're going to move on to some much smaller birds, a pair of budgies. But before we do that, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Harriet?
No, just a reminder that even though she's in her 40s, she's got a good 20 to 30 years ahead of her. And it would be really important for her to have her annual health checks with a certified avian vet. I mean, that's important for all parrots, but keeping her on those Harrison's pellets that she's eating there and ensuring she gets her annual health checkups would be really, really important for her. So we just want to emphasize that as always.
Got it. Well, thank you, Sarah, for introducing us first to Ruby and then now to Harriet.
That's a pleasure.
Lovely meeting them both.
Thanks. Please consider fostering a macaw. We recommend it.